Have you ever just stopped and thought about what a single day means in the grand scheme of things? Like, if you could just pull one day out of the calendar and look at everything that happened, what would you see? Well, today, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're putting November 3rd right under the microscope.
Okay, so what on earth could a space dog, a rebellious king, and a Whitney Houston song all have in common? I mean, it sounds like the setup to a really weird joke, right? But the answer is actually pretty straightforward. They all share the exact same date, November 3rd.
And really, that's the whole idea behind what we're doing today. Any single date, it's not just a square on your calendar, right? It's this incredible cross-section of human history. It's a day where you see politics, huge scientific leaps, and major cultural moments all crashing into each other. It's fascinating. So here's a quick look at our roadmap. We're going to kick things off with power and politics, then jump over to signals and science. From there, we'll meet some of the icons born on this day, and wrap up with culture that defined entire decades. Sound good? Let's dive in. All right, first up, power, politics, and parliament. This is where we look at how a single day can see empires rise, fall, and completely redefine themselves. November 3rd has been a huge day for leaders, for laws, and for the very foundations of nations. I mean, just look at this timeline. It's like you can see the whole story of power evolving. Way back in 644, you have the assassination of Caliph Umar, which just throws the entire Muslim world into a succession crisis. It's a raw, fundamental struggle for control. Then you jump forward nearly 1,000 years to 1534, and power shifts. King Henry VIII doesn't use a sword. He uses a law, the Act of Supremacy, to break from Rome and make himself the head of the church. Just a century after that, in 1640, that power is challenged again, this time from the ground up, when the Long Parliament comes together, which, as you might know, directly leads to the English Civil War. And it doesn't stop there. Fast forward to 1970, and you see President Nixon on TV, promising to pull troops out of Vietnam. A modern leader wrestling with the power of public opinion. Every single one of these moments on the same day. A total game changer. Okay, so from the world of politics, let's switch gears and head to the frontiers of science and innovation. Because November 3rd also has these incredible moments that totally changed how we talk to each other and how we explore the universe. Think about this for a second. Before 1906, if you were on a ship and sinking, your call for help, well, it might not be understood. It all depended on who you worked for. It was chaos. But on this day, November 3rd, a group got together in Berlin and decided no more. They needed one signal for everyone, and they picked something so simple, so distinct you couldn't miss it. 3 dots, 3 dashes, 3 dots. And just like that, SOS became the world's call for help. And that's so much more than just a technical standard, you know? It's literally a universal language for desperation. It doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, or what language you speak. Dot, dot, dash, 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 dot, dot, dot means one thing. We are in serious trouble. Help us. Okay, get this. Exactly 51 years later, to the day, after we created a universal signal to save lives on Earth, we sent a whole other kind of signal, this time up to the stars. Because on November 3rd, 1957, the Soviet Union launched Sputnik 2, and inside was its solo passenger, a little husky mix named Laika, who they'd found as a stray on the streets of Moscow. And she made history. She became the first living being to ever orbit the Earth. But this story, it really shows you the bittersweet heart of the space race. Laika was an absolute pioneer. She proved a living being could survive launch and orbit, paving the way for every human astronaut who followed. But it was always meant to be a one-way trip. She was never coming home. A true sacrifice for science, which adds this really tragic and poignant layer to what was, an incredible achievement. But the innovation on November 3rd wasn't all about these life or death missions to space. On the very same calendar day, back in 1914, something else was patented. The first modern elastic brassiere. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. On one side of the coin, you have this massive, high-stakes scientific gamble sending a living creature into the cosmos. And on the other, you have an invention that would completely change women's fashion and everyday life forever. It's just an amazing, wild contrast. So, we've talked about events, but this day isn't just about what happened, it's also about who happened. Let's take a look at some of the absolute icons who entered the world on November 3rd. I mean, the sheer range of people here is incredible. You've got Aurangzeb, a Mughal emperor who spent decades expanding his empire. Then there's Osamu Tezuka, the godfather of manga, who basically reinvented an entire art form. And you jump to our time and you've got someone like Colin Kaepernick, an athlete who used his voice to spark a global conversation about social justice. An emperor, an artist, an activist, all born on the same day. Wild. All right, for our last section, let's talk culture, because November 3rd has given us some truly unforgettable moments, from movies and music to the world of sports. Check out this contrast. On November 3rd, 1953, the masterpiece Tokyo Story was released in Japan. It's this quiet, deeply moving film that critics still call one of the greatest movies ever made. Now, fast forward to the same day in 1992, Whitney Houston drops her version of I Will Always Love You. It wasn't quiet, it was a global phenomenon, an absolute commercial powerhouse that became one of the best-selling songs in history. So you have these two classics, both born on November 3rd, both legendary. But they took completely opposite paths to get there. One by being a quiet masterpiece, the other by being an emotional blockbuster. And for any F1 fans watching, November 3rd holds a very strange record. It's 1991, the Australian Grand Prix. The rain is just biblical. It's so bad, they have to stop the race after only 14 laps. It goes down in the books as the shortest F1 race in history, and the legendary Ayrton Senna takes the win. Just pure chaos. And culture isn't just about entertainment, right? On this day, way back in 1838, the paper that would become the Times of India was founded. Think about that. It would grow to be the largest English-language daily on the planet, literally becoming the voice for a nation. So, okay, we've seen an emperor's birth, a universal distress signal, a dog in space, a blockbuster song. What does it all mean when you put it together? What's the big takeaway here? Well, I think it shows us that history is never a straight line. It's messy, it's chaotic, it's beautiful. It's like a giant tapestry. On the exact same slice of time, a caliph is falling and a king is rising. A universal signal for help is being born, and decades later, a lone traveler is being sent to the stars. All of these human stories are woven together, all happening at once. And that really just leaves us with one final thought, doesn't it? We've just looked at the past of November 3rd, but what about its future? What's happening right now, on some November 3rd, that people 100 years from now will look back on as a defining moment? What new thread is being woven into the story of this one single day?